All right. Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be interviewing Allison. She's an amazing client and friend of mine. We started coaching together back in the beginning of May. And so, Allison, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, so that people can kind of get a sense of the different types of people I work with. And then also, why did you decide to start coaching? What was going on in your life, and what were some of the things you were struggling with?
Yeah, thanks, Ciara. So I live in Colorado Springs, and I am an audiologist at Children's Hospital Colorado, and have been with the organization for several years now. And prior to meeting you, Ciara, and working with you, I feel like my weight over the years has crept up. And I've always generally been able to lose some of that weight either through various diet programs or food programs like Weight Watchers, Whole30, or keto, those types of programs. And each time I would eventually gain it back. And then I would say in the last 2 years or so, my weight has just significantly crept up. I've gained a significant amount of weight. And I was frustrated because I felt like I had these tools that I had learned. I did know how to lose weight. And those tools that I learned just either weren't working, or I just didn't have the motivation to start again, or to, gear up for what it's like to go on a Whole30 or to go keto.
Right.
And I just felt like I had this sort of underlying sense that it wasn't working for me. And I think that's partly why I didn't want to go back and do something like that.
Right.
So I also had this underlying sense that the restrictions that are placed on Whole30 and with keto and Weight Watchers really weren't working for me, but I just didn't know how to verbalize that.
Right.
So pair that with COVID hitting in about March.
Yep.
And going under safe at home orders, and just having a lot of time to really think about my life and the stress of all of that.
Yeah.
And then also I had a pretty big event coming up at work where I was giving like a TED Talk style presentation. In about 12 weeks, I had to prepare for it, and I just wasn't happy and satisfied with how I looked. I felt like if I could achieve a certain weight, I would be ready and prepared to present the way that I wanted to.
Right.
So I happened to see a little advertisement or video that you put on our neighborhood page in Banning Lewis, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. It's more about the psychology. I'd already was feeling some shame about what I had been through and the fact that I couldn't lose weight. And I thought, this might be it. I'm going to sign up with Ciara, and I'm going to lose that weight because I'm going to trick my mind into it. That's, I think, looking back to how I really thought it was going to go. And so I went into it thinking 12 weeks working with Ciara. It timed perfectly with when my big talking event was coming up, and I was going to look a certain way when I finally gave the talk.
Yeah. Perfect. I think that's so relatable. So relatable. So kind of flipping that and like fast forwarding, like how has coaching together helped you overcome like some of those challenges with the diets and the weight and feeling confident, and again kind of like that reassessment of like, why aren't these diets working for me even though I know what to do? So how has coaching helped you overcome some of those feelings that you were struggling with?
So to be honest, I think when I finally met with you, I was already primed to start moving in that direction. So that is one thing I would say is, you have to be open and willing to look at things a little bit differently. And so I was primed and moving towards already a more intuitive approach, but I just needed that feedback that what I was doing was right and to take it one step further. And my brain was already rebelling against this notion that I had to restrict entire food groups. Or macros in order to be in this body. So coaching with you confirmed some of those feelings, gave me more vocabulary. And I think ultimately the biggest thing I took away with was obviously peace with food, not thinking about it as much,
Right.
but the understanding that our thoughts surrounding food can be just as damaging, if not more damaging, than the actual nutritional profile of the food itself.
Yep.
Um, and so if our brain labels something bad or we have stress around food, our body will react to it as if it's truth. So I would say that is probably my biggest takeaway with working with you.
Yeah, that big aha moment is, I think a lot that's a big one for a lot of people, is that it's that psychology piece, but in a way that's like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much by me obsessing about going keto or the diets, or me thinking about food in this way, or obsessing about and stressing about, oh, my body needs to lose weight, I gotta lose this weight, I gotta lose this weight, is actually keeping the weight on. It's creating, and we talk a lot about that with the eating psychology piece of our work together, because it's not everything, right, but it is a big chunk.
Mm-hmm.
Is, you know, that stress response, you know, that fight or flight mode gets activated. And a lot of women like you that I work with, very successful in their jobs, highly motivated, it's like everything in their life is like going great except for this one area with weight. And that's typically the very exact person I work with, because it's that A type, like I've got to figure this out. And I think for a lot of us, it's that perfectionism comes out with our eating. And like you've just said, we're realizing that our thoughts around our food and body are actually perpetuating the cycle that's keeping our metabolism and our stress levels at this high level. Or even, I would say, like most people like you I work with are in a chronic low level state of stress
Mm-hmm.
around their weight and body, which is keeping their metabolism stuck. So by learning to work with our thoughts, noticing those thoughts, learning more intuitive eating practices, and then trusting yourself,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things. Because again, you were like on that road of like knowing this is what you need to do, but then trusting that you're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and knowing intuitively like this is what I need to be doing, and trusting yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it was so cool, because I know like this TED Talk was such a huge like turning point. And I think that probably one of my favorite moments in our coaching together was like after that talk, just being like, I am a badass. Like I rocked it. And your weight and your body like had nothing to do with you being a total badass.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's powerful.
I would agree. I think, about halfway through this process, I quickly realized that I was not going to lose the weight that I wanted to. um, and I think it switched for me of, this isn't about me losing weight. This is me about being okay with the body that I currently have. There's a reason that I'm at this weight.
Right.
Um, and so I think that amount of, I guess, self-love that I had to finally have ultimately empowered me to get to a point where when I finally did do my talk, like you said, I walked away just feeling like I nailed it, and that people saw me, for the information that I shared, my life experience, and that was my value. It wasn't how I looked.
Right.
And that was a big shift for me. And it took getting towards that point in the program and really having that event for it to be like, okay, like this is what this is about.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and you and I have talked about becoming a queen as I enter into the stage of my life. I'm in my
Right.
late 30s, and just really owning who I am and just not apologizing anymore.
Yeah.
So it's been very freeing for me. So.
Yeah. It's awesome. Would you recommend coaching with me, and then anything else you'd like to add or share for people who may be like on the fence about starting this kind of work? Because it's, again, like you kind of said, it's not the easiest jump for a lot of people. I think a lot of clients that I do work with have to be ready to be like, yep, I'm ready for a different approach. Obviously what I've been doing for weight loss and dieting has not worked for me, and I need to do something different. So yeah.
Yeah, so yes, I would highly recommend coaching with you. I've had issues almost my entire life with building walls.
Yeah.
And I would say it wasn't really till I started coaching with you that I actually let somebody who wasn't a really close friend, like, kind of get a peek beyond the walls.
Right.
And I don't think I even realized I had walls, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so is when I started to voice certain thoughts that were very much rooted in shame and really start to dig into some of the distorted thoughts that I had had with you. You know, meeting with you kind of led me down this path of getting other help as well, and just being more open with my relationships with my friends and family.
Right.
Um, I thought you would give me the gift of weight loss. I'll be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think instead, with coaching with you, I had gained the confidence that I needed, that I had lost, and really my sense of value.
Yeah.
You helped take away a lot of my shame, and that I didn't even realize I'd been feeling for a very long time. So yes, I would recommend coaching with you. Um, Anything else I would share with people who might be on the fence? If you're looking for a quick fix to lose some weight without really doing some deep work, this might not be the program for you.
Oh,
Yeah, but if you're looking to gain really just a sense of yourself, um, decrease your shame, make room for in your brain about something other than just food,
yeah.
you should seriously consider this program. I would also say that you need to be willing to actually do the homework that's assigned, and really engage in a critical self-analysis, because that's where a lot of the work is done.
Yeah.
Is it's during the week, and then we kind of encapsulate everything in our sessions, but you have to do your own work
Yeah.
as well. So
And that's why you had such amazing results, and you were just such a so like I loved getting on the phone with you every week. It was like easy. It's like, oh yay, like get to like talk, and because it was just you were doing the action, you were doing the work, you were doing the actions in between our calls and in between our sessions. And yeah, it was an absolute joy working with you and going alongside your work. And I feel like mostly being a cheerleader
yeah,
for how amazing you already are. You know, like there wasn't, my job was easy. I feel like I just was help pushing stuff away, like getting stuff out of your way for you to just own who you already are, which
yeah.
is so amazing and powerful. And you make such an impact in so many people's lives. So it was an absolute pleasure and joy working with you. And thank you so much for sharing with everyone today.
Yeah, no, thank you for everything you've done to help me, Ciara. I appreciate it.
Yeah.